Hello, Stratters. It's CreepEvee, and we are back in Pauper this week. Yes, it has been a while. And because we are still in our month of Halloween, we have a deck themed around zombies and death. But mainly zombies, because we don't want the death to be permanent. At least I hope not. So this is a deck that I've wanted to build for quite a while, and I just never really got around to putting it together, but we have it now. This is my first draft of it. I guess I should say what it is first. You can't see the art here for some reason. Moto is not wanting to show it to me, but it is very cool art. It is Carrion Feeder, a one-drop black. Yes, our main boss monster of the deck is going to be getting going for 1 mana. So he is a 1/1. He is a zombie. But whenever he, what did I say? Whenever he comes in. All right, so he cannot block. Don't know where I was going before, but he can't block, and we can sacrifice a creature and put a 1/1 counter on him. So that's instant speed, and as many times as we want a turn. So you can see that that might get a little bit crazy. But what creatures shall we sacrifice, do you say? Well, I have the answer for you. But besides the 4 carrion feeders, obviously, since they're pretty much the main focus of the deck is definitely themed around them. You can make the deck less focused on carrion feeder, but it's our month of Halloween, so of course we have to focus on carrion feeder. So, of course, we have some Eldrazi, because Eldrazi's are pretty scary too, am I right? Um, so Blister Pod is a 1-drop green because it was one of the devoid Eldrazi. But it has, whenever it dies, you create an Eldrazi Scion. So obviously, gonna get him out, sacrifice him to Carrion Feeder to get the Scion. So we're breaking even there. We're trading a 1/1 for another 1/1. And so we get the value there as well as getting the 1/1 onto Carrion Feeder. Brindleshote, very similar kind of idea here, except Brindleshote, we actually profit a lot. Whenever it dies, we get a 3/3 boar. So we're trading a 1/1 for a 3/3 whenever we get rid of Shote. So that's definitely an example of profit. Another example of profit is Young Wolf, another 1-drop green, and it has Undying. So not only are we going to get the +1/+1 on Carrion Feeder, Young Wolf is going to come back with its own +1/+1. So pretty good there. We have 3 of Tuscatong Thalid. A 1-drop 1/1 that comes in when it dies creates a 1/1, so we break even there. And let's see, is that it for our creatures? That is it for our creatures. I was trying to remember if I had any more. Oh yeah, there he is. So Perilous Mirror. I don't know why I said Pestilence Mirror. Perilous Mirror. It is a 2-drop colorless artifact creature, and when it dies, deals 2 damage to target opponent, well, target creature or player. So 2 of those, I don't know. I thought about just putting 1 in, but I don't like putting 1/1s in decks too much. But I don't know. It seems like it'll come clutch in a lot of situations, so we are gonna keep with that. We do have a couple of burn aspects in this deck, so we could it might pull through for us. As far as our other cards here, we have a 2 of Bone Splitter, pretty standard for any deck that has creatures in it, and then a 1 of Psylocke Life Staff. Whenever the equipped creature dies, we're going to gain 3 life, so could be very handy for us. Thought about siding another one for burn matchups, so that's something to consider, but for right now, we just have it there. Hunger of the Howl Pack, we put a 1/1 counter on target creature, but it has Morbid, so if a creature died this turn, we can put 3 1/1 counters on. You can definitely include just about anything with the morbid mechanic because we're definitely going to be achieving morbid several times. 2 of Rancor, you could definitely go more of these. In fact, by the end of this process of me building this deck, it probably will be more of them. But for right now, we'll just do 2. Bequeathal. So this is a card you don't see all that often, but it's pretty cool in this deck. It is an enchantment, and when enchanted creature dies, you draw 2 cards. So since we're going to be killing off a lot of our own creatures, we know exactly when they're going to die, so we don't have to wait around for our opponent to kill it. So we can slap this on, kill it, and immediately draw 2 cards. So kind of a draw 2 for 1 almost, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Similarly, we have Altar Reap, which is a 2-drop black to sack a card and draw 2. I have 2 of these and 1 of Bequeathal. The reason why is because Altar's Reap ultimately is going to be, I think, more consistent. Considering that it's at instant speed, Bequeathal is an enchantment, so a little bit easier to control. So I consider Altar's Reap to be a little bit more consistent, but you could go back and forth on these. I just didn't like fully investing in one or the other. This kind of gives you a draw option on both sides of the color spectrum if your mana is limited on colors. And they're both cheap, but Altar's Reap costs 1 more, but like I said, I still think it's the more consistent option. We have 2 Tragic Slips. A lot of builds run more than this, but I don't know. I guess this is a more aggressive build. Black offers a lot of control in Pauper, but I don't know. I didn't really want to play black control, so we're doing something a little bit more aggressive. Unearth, pretty handy card, especially considering that all of our creatures are under 3 converted mana cost. So we can dredge those back up, get them onto the board, and sacrifice them again. Or we can cycle it for 2, and you guys know how much I love cycling, so we have 3 of those. Death Denied, 1 of these, because I don't know, I don't like to think that we'll need it all that often, but it's here if we do. It's 2 black and X to return X target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Obviously, we are putting a lot of cards into our graveyard, so having 1 in the deck is not a bad idea in the first place. And you could certainly argue for playing more, but I'm going to try to make it work with only 1. It seemed really cloggy at more than 1, so there we go. Did I go over everything else? Pulse Marasa. Pulse Marasa is my other recursion, I guess you would say, card. To get back creature or land. You guys know what this card does. It's pretty common in not modern, Pauper. But I really like the gain 6 effect. That, in my opinion, makes it better than Death Denied. But the fact that Death Denied can get multiple targets, whereas Pulse is only going to get you 1. So I couldn't really decide which one I wanted to go with, so I have 2. And then to quickly go over the land base, very, very simple. 5 swamps, 5 forest, 2 Golgari Rot Farms, 4 jungle hollows, but somehow or another I ended up with 4 different copies. So however that worked out. 2 Terramorphic Expanses and 1 Kalani Garden and 1 Mortuary Mire. Just good tech lands here. If we can't get anything going, Kalani Garden can function for creating a blocker or also creating a creature that we can sack with Carrion Feeder. And we'll quickly jump over to our sideboard for some removal of enchantments and artifacts. We have Gleeful Sabotage, as well, two of those, as well as one Tranquility. I really like Tranquility in this format, just a little note. Pulse Marasa to side in some Mortar Recursion. We can also side this in burn matchups to give us that extra life. Duress to combat blue to get rid of any nasty little blue cards. What are those cards? Counter spells. There we go. There's my words. Innocent Blood to go up against creature decks that play a few creatures. Shrivel is there for the matchups where we're going against a wide board of a lot of tokens. So kind of two juxtaposing ideas, but kind of similar as far as creature removal. But and then one Doomblade just is you could definitely justify another Tragic Slip here, but I felt better just making it a Doomblade. Uh, if things aren't going our way and we're not sure we're getting morbid, that's usually whenever you want to reach for things in your side deck. So this will be where we plan ahead and have the Doomblade. Wretch Mind just to go up against blue decks, kind of control blue. Same reason Duress is there, just hand disruption. And then two Choking Sands. Thought about doing three here. This is for Tron matchups, obviously. Tron is just so powerful in this format. I know I play Tron in this format, so definitely a good idea to have some non-basic removal, so that is why it is here. Almost put three, just because that's how powerful Tron is. But so that's the deck. I'll have the link in the description, so it'll be there nice and organized for you guys. I know that I kind of go all over the place whenever I'm talking about cards, but I promise that there is a method to my madness. It just might not carry over. But speaking of carrying over, let's carry this over to the games. Alright guys, we're going to be going first against Alagus MTM. Don't know that one. Oh man. Alright, well let's keep this hand. We got a good amount of stuff going on. We are opening up with Carrion Feeder, which is going to be pretty important for us. The most builds of the deck try to include a little bit more of a balance of creatures to kind of counteract not drawing Carrion Feeder. But wanted to go all out with a Carrion Feeder for the video. Probably if I build this deck for myself, I would throw in a couple like Nantuko, Husk, whatever it is. The black creature that says sack something, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And also, what was the other thing I was going to put in? It'll come to me in a second. The vampire that does something very similar. I do really like having a card that does the counters instead of just one turn pluses. Seeing as you're not going to get much done with the one turn pluses in the long run. Alright, well there's our Brindle Stout, or Shoat, or whatever we want it to be. Let's go with that. Brindle Shoat. It's a baby hog, I think is what a shoat is. I live in the South, but I am not very wise to country words, I suppose you would put it. So now we'll always say yes to Carrion Feeder. The reason why I'm going to go ahead and eat the boar so I can do Hunger of the Howl Pack before I attack. Our opponent only has 2 Evolving Wilds out, so I'm not worried about too much of a threat. I suppose he could go for a Swamp and then snuff out the feeder, but overall I think we'll be safe. So 5/5, not bad to be having on turn 3. Would have been better to have done it on turn 2. We would have had to have drawn a 1-drop instead of a 2-drop. Our opponent gets 2 islands out. Now a mountain. So a lot of scary things this could be. This could be blitz. It could be just, is it burn? Could be, and then of course just anything that includes red and blue, but that would be the first things that come to my mind. Guess our opponent has something to think about here. Okay, there we go. Ooh, Delver and Kiln Fiend in one turn. Oh my, that is a spicy meatball. Well, let's Young Wolf and Altar's Reap to try to draw a land so I don't miss a land drop here. Our opponent playing this game kinda slow. I think I'm gonna have to cut in a couple places just to fill time. Alright, so now Altar's Reap, the Young Wolf, get the Undying trigger, getting another Young Wolf and a Jungle Hollow. Well, we got 2 pretty beefy attackers. So I'd like to think that we'll be okay. There isn't too much that he could do at instant speed for no mana to pump up the Kiln Fiend. And even if he had to burn that on my turn to block and not be able to attack, then I'm okay with that. Apostle's Blessing. That I'm not too keen on. I'm assuming he does not play a white source because Izzet Blitz normally doesn't. So yeah, he will have to pay 2. A lot of his cards are really only going to work for him if he pays 2 because they don't play green for mutagenic growth and they don't play white for Apostle's Blessing. So he is going to have to pay life for both of those, so he can only play one more of them. There's the mutagenic growth. So no Apostle's Blessing for our opponent now. Tapping 2 for a Gush. Looks like our opponent wanting to wrap this up on this turn. So far he has not found a way to circumvent Young Wolf being a blocker. He has now figured out a way to circumvent it being a blocker. Does that give him enough to kill us? Not yet, but the lightning bolt will do it. What we got going pretty quickly, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty impressed with how fast we got damage out. But Is It Blitz is also a very fast deck. So, what do we do here? We have Duress, Doomblade. I don't think the Shrivels. The Wrench Mines might work. Innocent Blood is not a bad option, because he's pretty much just going to have one of two creatures out and try to win with them. The Duresses are pretty much there for the mutagenic growths and Apostle's Blessings. I like Innocent Blood because this is not going to, this will get past any protection that he might use to block with Doomblade. So, what do we go down? Tragic Slips are still good. I'm not worried about like a ton of counters, so Duress feels less important. Perilous Mirror actually works out pretty well because it will kill a Kiln Fiend or even a Flip Delver with its damage. Bone Splitter. Like, Bone Splitter is always good, but I think we can go down one. What do we have to take out for the... We could go down... like... Death Denied. Bring in... I want to try to bring in at least one of these. Go down and Alter Reap. Let's just try it like that. We'll just have the one Duress in there. I'd like to have two in there, but I don't know. I was running out of time to think, I guess would be the easy answer there. So yeah, we'll play first. This is a good hand. Not really anything to say about it. It's just a very good hand. I'm very happy to see it. This is one of the better hands that I've seen with this deck so far. So now the question is, how good is our opponent's hand? Because a good hand in an Is It Blitz deck is not good for you. Normally it ends up with you getting murdered. Trying to decide what I want to do, because I could Bone Splitter, tap in an... I think, I don't know, like I want to get out one of our guys, that way Innocent's Blood works out for us. But I think Bone Splitter is better here. I don't know, I'd really like to get it going. Or we could even, like, if we really wanted to overextend. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go for it. Because this is technically more damage. So, can never really call it overextending for damage. You totally can. You definitely can, but for sake of argument. So we drop the blister pod, eat it with the feeder, get a scion, and then bone splitter onto carrion feeder with the scion. Now, always yield. And equip. Works out pretty well. 4 damage is not bad. So now, see, like our opponent, I don't want to say normally gets going on turn 3. But I think that we saw that turn 3 is a good turn for them. But turn 2 and 3 are normally where they do their setup, and then turn 4 would be the kill turn. So to be on turn 2 with a 4-2 out and a pretty good hand, and Innocent's Blood as a form of removal, well, that's less good. I don't like it whenever my boss monster dies. Ponder. It's 6 cards in hand. That's probably one of the scariest parts about his hand right now. So let's Mortuary Mire. Grabbing our carrion feeder. So, in all irony, we are now the ones that know what we're getting next turn. I mean, our opponent does as well, but let's put this bone splitter on and then pass. Innocent Blood now looking kind of good. Let's drop a forest. They know we're going to drop carrion feeder, so let's just go for it. And then go ahead and swing. Feel very confident that they're not going to want to block. Is fine, gives more value to us. We will choose to sack our Thallid, get a Thallid, or sapling. I don't know whether salads. I don't know whether saplings and Thallids are the same thing. I don't know. I don't know a lot of these like creatures in Magic, although most of them are pretty common knowledge. You know, like we're here in Halloween month, so we're dealing with zombies, vampires, and werewolves. Pretty universal for everybody. Just for a ponder. Interested to see what our opponent has planned for this turn, because normally you gush pretty late into your game plan. Not necessarily late in the game, but late in your game plan. Drops an island. Goes for Preordain. Well, at this point, he should have a very firm grasp on what's on the top of his deck. We've gone through 2 Ponders this turn, and now a Preordain. and we're pretty much just on the Mortuary Mire stack. Well, let's not play that right now. And the reason being, because there's nothing that we're going to draw that is going to require more than those 4 lands. At least not at first. Our opponent has a full hand and also knowledge of at least their next 2 cards. He's definitely going to be more confident than I am. Ooh, Innocent Blood. Okay, so we're getting some things going right now. So I would want him to fear what I've got, I guess. So it's definitely a bluff. I just don't really feel like we're going to need 5 mana more than we're going to need a bluff. I would definitely like to be drawing creatures, because I think it would be quite nice to be able to actually back up our bluff by stacking a ton of counters onto Carrion Feeder. Ideally what we want is one of our draw spells. Delver comes down. Well, we have Innocent Blood to get rid of it. Still only has us doing 3 damage. We can get our Blister Pod back with Unearth, and I think that might actually set us up to win. I don't want to speak too soon because I'm not good at doing math in my head, but I think it does. Question is whether this Unearth resolves. Okay, so it does. So now Innocent Blood, sacking Blister Pod. It's not going to get us to game, but it's getting close. So we'll sack the Scion, and that'll get us to 5 damage. Well, apparently our opponent doesn't plan on getting to anything else. We had 2 Brindle Shoals, Bequeath, another Brindle Shoal, and a Blister Pod. So there's where all of our creatures were, and our draw spell. But that worked out pretty well for us. So we've brought it into game 3. And Izzet Blitz is not an easy deck to deal with, so I'm happy with how this is going so far. I want to bring in this Pulse of Marasa, I think. And as far as what to go down is a very good question. Deals damage to target player. So I almost want to go down one of you. If it also did its player like Perilous Mirror did, then I would feel better about it being in, but and I mean it is life gain, so we're trading life gain for better life gain, but Choking Sands, Wrench Mine, Shrivel, Duress. I know I said that I wanted to bring the other Duress in, but I think I'm going to leave it for right now. I mean, I say for right now as if I'm going to get another opportunity to bring it in. Alright, this hand looks really good if we had a Carrion Feeder. But that's going to be a lot of hands with this deck, and we just kind of have to be prepared for that. It does give us several good creatures to start off, and an Innocent Blood to try to remove a creature from his side of the board. So in that regard, I really like it. And Rancor to boot, not bad start if you ask me. Draw a swamp. Well, that is not a carrion feeder, but land is land. Drop Blister Pod. Blister Pod's such a good card. It doesn't have a fit in every deck, but there's so many decks in Pauper that I feel like can work with it. Well, that is an Innocent Blood. Alright, so Swamp. Cast Innocent's Blood. Innocent Blood. I don't know why I keep wanting to make it Innocent's Blood. Blister Pod effect. So we could cast Brindleshote, but I think that we're just going to leave the token on board and just go for the safe play with the Thallid. And see what our opponent has to throw back at us. I'm liking this deck a lot. There's definitely some improvements that can be made to it that are just going to come from testing and reworking, but I'm liking it right now. That I don't like. But we do have a carrion feeder to work with. So another swamp. Carrion feeder. So now is the play Rancor or is it Brindleshote? I think it's Brindleshote. And then do nothing, unfortunately. So I'm not really sure. Really depends on how far along our opponent is with his hand. The Apostle's Blessing is really going to be the biggest decider on whether or not he can win this turn. I mean, if he has an Apostle's Blessing, I have absolutely no doubt that he can win. Well, he'd probably need two. And even then we can block with the Scion. Okay, well, what is the other card that he has that says that I can't block? Goes for the Gush, so he's probably feeling pretty confident. Oh, I should know. Because it was in the... We used it in the first video I did on the channel, actually. The Tireless Tribe deck. Or no, that was the second one I did. Yeah. It'll come to me in a second, or he'll probably play it, and then then I'll remember it. But it's just the one that says till end of turn, can't be blocked, and can be blocked, and you draw a card. I know that Shadow Rift is the other card that was basically the same card just earlier. Slip Through Space, that is the name of it. Took me a minute. So, did my opponent go off too early? Time to find out. He has 7 cards in hand. He does not have blue mana to cast the Shadow Rift or Slip Through Space. Okay. So I'm assuming he didn't have at least one or at least 2 Apostle Blessing to make sure that he did not die that turn. So we're going to go ahead and eat the Shoat and probably go ahead and eat the Thalit as well. That way we have attacker as well. We really didn't need to eat the Thalit. I did want to eat the Brindle Shoal though, that way our 3/3 does not have Summoning Sickness next turn. Always yield to Carrion Feeder. Come on, opponent. There we go. Actually, I shouldn't say opponent because it may actually just be my internet. It's been very what is the word that I can say? Temperamental. There's a word that I can say. Rancor or Blister Pod? Blister Pod is long term. Rancor is short term. But you have to live fast in the world of playing against Izzet Blitz. So, Carrion Feeder can swing, and the Boar can. I'll hold back the Sapling and the Scion. The Scion is going to be a pretty big deal, which is part of the reason why I was really considering Blister Pod, because it's colorless, so Apostle's Blessing is not going to give it immunity to it. A hold priority. You need to remember to always hold priority with this deck, seeing as Carrion Feeder can eat anything at any time. Especially against a deck where a stray Lightning Bolt could be a problem. Another Kiln Fiend. Okay. So did we go through? No. I was thinking that we killed another one for some reason. Do we have an attack lined up? No. Okay, so our opponent holding back. So his hand probably in some pretty rough shape if he's still holding back at this point. So we have an Unearth to get back our Boar, or Shoat as he is now. A Shoat hoping to become a Boar one day. Let's do that. Got the Shoat back. Now Rancor Blister Pod. I'm going to say Blister Pod because another Scion does fit into our strategy. So now we can eat the Blister Pod that. And then we'll save the Brindleshote for an instant speed situation. Because for right now, he makes for a good blocker that we can eat after blocking is declared. Really wish that Moto would load in the art for Carrion Feeder, because it's super good. Alright, so just a little bit left to go here. 3 life remaining. But he is certainly not out of the game. We have to remember what deck we are playing against, and is it Blitz? Especially with 2 Kiln Fiends. Never completely out of the game. We are getting able to showcase all of our wonderful little token producing cards, though, which is pretty nice. So swinging with 2 Kiln Fiends, which means a Scion for each of them. So then we will move to damage step and eat them. And to reiterate, the reason why we're going with the Scions, okay, so that gives them +2/+2. The reason why we're going with the Scions is because the Apostle's Blessing will not give them a way around them. So our opponent cannot cast an Apostle's Blessing at this point because he will die to the cost. Cannot cast another Mutagenic Growth. Targeting the Scion with a Vapor Snag. Well, if that's the case, we can just eat it instead of it going to waste. Temur Battle Rage targeting that one. So it does have power 4 or greater. AKA, we're gonna lose. Well, we would have lost even if it didn't have the 4. Because the trample would have still gotten us. In hindsight, we probably should have double blocked all of them just to make sure, but I really didn't think about the Vapor Snag, to be completely honest. Well, there's a Perilous Mirror. That would have been nice to shoot down one of the Kiln Fiends, but fair play to our opponent. That is how to play the game for sure. Temur Battle Rage, man, you gotta love it in whatever format it shows up in. Always one of the best cards in the game. I have a long-standing gripe with the card, but completely understandable. It's an amazing card. So I just hate that card so much. But anyway, that game ran a little bit long since we did end up going to game 3. So I think we're going to wrap it up. We'll quickly jump back over to the deck, look it over one last time. Like I said, I will put the link to the deck in the description. And as I said before, I am going to work on adjusting this for the next video because I really like it so far. Like, it's honestly really fun. And there's just so many things you can do. Like I was saying, you're playing Golgari in Pauper, So you have options. Like there's so many cards that you have access to that are good, consistent cards. And you're playing mid range, so you can find whether you want a control aspect, you have that within black. Um, just so many different ways that you can kind of move this deck in one direction if you want it to be a little bit more control based or if you want it to be more aggro. There's a lot of versatility with this deck, and there's just so many different cards that you can put in. Uh, like, there's definitely some cards that really shine above others, like Young Wolf and Blister Pod. Like, I feel like, and Brindle Show. Like, I feel like those are definitely, I wouldn't say must-haves, but things to look out for sure, with this deck. But otherwise, like there's just so much room to put in whatever card kind of suits your fancy. So you definitely have options, and this deck is extremely affordable even for a pauper deck. And online, like I've seen builds where you can pull off like 7 ticks, So this is, and I mean like $16 builds as far as like paper. Like there's so many ways that you can use this deck, and because there's so much versatility with it, you can definitely find budget options for it. So this is definitely a deck worth trying out. Like I said, I've been wanting to try it for a while, and I'm happy I did because I enjoyed these games that I got in today. But we will definitely be back with more games later this week. But with all of that being said, which felt like a ton because I really need something to drink right now. With all of that being said, let's move right on into the shilling. If you like the video, you should definitely like it. It shows a lot of support, as well as subscribe to the channel to see all of my videos, as well as all the other wonderful videos from all of the wonderful people here at Magic Gathering Strat. We very much appreciate it. I will have the link to my YouTube channel as well down there. I've just started putting videos on it again, so there will be some fun content for you. As well as I will also have my Facebook page there for the channel, where you'll find all of my videos and the Magic Gathering Strat videos that I produce all right there as soon as they come out, so they'll be all organized for you. You don't have to go jumping between two channels. It'll all be right there and you can find them easily. Plus I'll be posting when I'm recording for videos, so if you want to find me on Moto and play me, you'll know right then whenever I'm about to get on and start recording. So all kinds of reasons to follow that page, all kinds of reasons to like and subscribe to these videos, just a plethora of reasons to push just a few simple buttons. So we would definitely appreciate it. With all of that being said, all of the shilling done, looks like I'm ready to close it out. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.